My name is Marie Chen, I'm 35, and until last night, I was supposed to become a wife. The venue smelled like money disguised as roses, white peonies drooping in crystal cylinders, a string quartet playing something pretty enough to pass for intimacy. Ethan loved this place from the first tour. Vaulted ceilings, the kind of chandeliers that make everyone look a little more expensive. He ran a fingertip down the estimate and said, "Worth it." I said nothing and quietly measured the room like a contractor. Outlets, access, exits. Our rehearsal dinner had the clockwork ease of a corporate event. Ethan's father held court at the bar, laughing too loudly. My parents sat near the windows, holding hands under the table like teenagers. I watched the reflections of my mother's smile and the faint seam of worry beneath it. She knows me well enough to read the weather behind my face. I paid for the rehearsal dinner because it was the one-line item I insisted on covering. It felt symbolic, my contribution to the performance. Ethan handled the fun stuff, as he called it, dress appointments for me. I kept postponing. Cake tastings he attended with Lauren because I was buried in vendor emails. He said I was so good at logistics, the way people say a dog is good at fetching. The speeches began. Ethan's brother went first. Safe story about childhood, a joke about board games turning violent, applause. I breathed steady, palms flat against linen. The quartet paused. Voices hushed. The maid of honor stood. Lauren Park. Hair glossy, dressed the exact silver of the champagne flutes. She has one of those smiles that always looks like it knows a secret. We met at their alumni event last year. She hugged Ethan too long and called it nostalgia. I called it practice. She seized the mic. When Ethan and I met freshman year, I knew he would do big things, she began, casting her gaze over the room like a queen inspecting the harvest. He's always had impeccable taste, friends, internships, the car he borrowed from his dad. Laughter. I lifted my water, watched the surface tremble and still. And now, she turned all teeth. Now he has chosen the woman who will make him even more efficient. A flicker. It could have been nothing. A weird word choice. People say the wrong thing under pressure. Lauren leaned into it. Marie is, what's the phrase, multi-purpose. She can handle a contractor, a spreadsheet, and a crisis call at 2 a.m. Honestly, Ethan, you did it. You're marrying someone who can fix anything. A few bridesmaids tittered. My mother's fork paused midair. I set down my water. Lauren's eyes gleamed. I mean, let's be real. She lifted her glass toward Ethan. You're marrying up, and that's fine. Because she's useful. The room stopped. Air thinned. Even the quartet missed a beat. I looked at Ethan. He was smiling. Not uncertain. Not embarrassed. Smiling. The kind of smile you give at a roast when you're the one secretly writing the jokes. I waited for the pivot. The, hey, that's not cool. The hand on the mic. The defense. He raised his glass instead. It's fine, he called across the tables, locking eyes with Lauren like a code passed between old conspirators. She's useful. They clinked. Silver laughter rang out. There are words that bruise in slow motion. You don't feel them until they sink beneath the skin and set up house in the bone. I felt nothing. I just collected details. The way my dad's knuckles whitened around his napkin. The way my mother refolded hers. Smaller, like she could make the evening shrink until it fit inside a pocket. I smiled. I am good at smiles. They're like drywall seams, smooth if you sand long enough. Lauren finished with the flourish about destiny and dividends. People clapped because they were relieved to be told it was a joke. Ethan kissed my cheek as he sat. His lips were warm. His breath smelled like oak and victory. You okay? He murmured, the tone he used when a deal went through. I nodded. The quartet recovered. Plates arrived like obedience. My brother texted from across the table. You want me to start a fire? I typed back. Not yet. I excused myself to the restroom. No one stopped me. I walked a straight line past the bar, past the coat check, into the small sanctuary of white tile and soft lighting. I looked in the mirror and recognized the woman staring back, hair pinned, makeup intact, the practiced slope of composure from brow to chin. My hands were steady. I turned on the tap and watched water ribbon over marble. Useful. People say it like a compliment until you realize they mean appliance. A dishwasher is useful. A plunger is useful. You thank it when it works and curse it when it doesn't. I pulled my phone from my clutch and opened the email folder I had curated over the last 2 months. Venue, caterer, florist, band, photo. Threads labeled, attachments neatly stacked. In every signature block, my name as primary contact. In every invoice field, my card. It started harmlessly. Ethan told me he didn't have time to manage details. "You're better at this anyway," he'd said, tapping the top of my head with his knuckle like a vending machine that always delivers. He sent me Lauren in his place to meet the florist. Lauren arrived 20 minutes late and spent the consult scrolling. "Whatever you think, Marie," she chirped, like delegation was generosity. I'd updated the contracts because it was easier. One point of contact. Fewer mistakes. That's what I told myself while a quieter voice traced an exit plan in pencil. A knock sounded at the restroom door, half-hearted. Someone murmured, "Occupied?" I didn't answer. I scrolled to the venue thread and reread the line that mattered. "Card on file will be charged for final payment 7 days prior to event." Checked. Confirmed. Documented. My name, my signature, my choice. I breathed. Counted 4 in, 4 hold, 4 out. A trick I learned on job sites when an inspector started inventing new rules. The mirror fogged at the edges, turned my silhouette softer, almost bridal. This wasn't rage. Rage is messy, loud, flammable déchabage. This was arithmetic. $32,000 in non-refundable payments scattered across a week, 12 for the room, 8 for the food, 4 for the band, 3 for the flowers, 2 and change for the photographer who had texted me photos of the space, and 3 heart emojis. The numbers aligned like studs behind drywall, hidden, load-bearing. Useful. I clicked the venue's after-hours coordinator number, listened to the automated greeting, the rustle as a human picked up. "Events, this is Clara." "Hi, Clara. This is Marie Chen calling about the Wilson Chen wedding." "Yes, Ms. Chen," she said, brisk and bright. "Tomorrow at 6. We're excited to—" "I need to cancel." Silence. Then a careful cadence, like she was stepping over glass. "I can help with that, but our policy—" "I'm aware," I said. "No refunds. Non-transferable. All deposits forfeited. I'm not asking for money back. I'm asking for it to be over." Another silence, with typing in it. "You're listed as the primary contact," she confirmed. "The card on file ends in—" "That's mine." "All right," she breathed, human again. "I'll need to verify a few details, then I can process the cancellation." She asked for the code. I gave it. She read the policy. I agreed. 5 minutes later, her voice softened. "I'm sorry," she said, and I realized her sympathy wasn't for the money. I hung up and called the caterer, then the florist, the band, the photographer who sounded genuinely disappointed. "I was excited about your venue," she said. "I was too," I answered, and felt the truth of it limp and vanish. Between calls, I watched my face in the mirror. There is a woman you become when you stop asking to be chosen. She's quieter. She folds her own tenderness into a small, careful place and locks it by hand. She is, I suppose, efficient. The text began like alarm bells vibrating on porcelain. Ethan, 8. Lauren, 3. Ethan again, caps bleeding. "What are you doing?" I put my phone face down and rinsed my hands as if something sticky clung to them. The water ran clear. Back in the dining room, the string quartet had found their way to something triumphant. People laughed with the relieved greed of the well-fed. Ethan didn't appear to notice I'd been gone for half an hour. He wrapped an arm around my waist when I slid into my seat. His fingers rested exactly where you place a level on a wall, light pressure, checking for deviation. "You good?" he murmured. "Never better," I said, and felt how the words did not belong to me until I spoke them. Then they fit like a glove. He smiled and turned back to the table, to Lauren leaning in to whisper something that made him throw his head back, easy and open. My mother caught my eye. Her expression asked a question she'd asked me when I was 9 and tried to hide a split knuckle. "Are you hurt, or are you brave?" I held her gaze and answered with the smallest nod. He trusted me with the planning, with the logins, the card fields, the signatures. That's the last thing he'll ever trust me with. When the check came, I paid it without flinching. $3,000 slid into the ledger of deliberate losses. The waiter thanked me like a co-conspirator. People hugged us goodnight, promising to arrive early tomorrow, promising to cry, promising to dance. At the door, Lauren kissed the air beside my cheek. "Try to get some sleep," she purred. "Big day." "Sleep is easy," I said. "Dreaming's the problem." Outside, the night smelled like rain that would never quite fall. Ethan lifted Lauren's suitcase into the trunk of the car she bragged about leasing at a stupid good rate. He closed the trunk with a soft thud, turned to me, and touched my chin with 2 fingers. "See you tomorrow, Mrs. Almost." "See you," I said. The bridesmaids waved, the cars pulled away. The parking lot returned to its original purpose, an empty space where people stand for a moment and decide which direction to go. I went home. I sat on my couch, my house, my name on the deed, the one thing that never embarrassed me to claim, and let the quiet settle like dust after demolition. Somewhere a dog barked. Somewhere a couple argued about centerpieces. Somewhere the string quartet packed their instruments and counted tips. I placed my phone on the coffee table, screen up. It pulsed with missed calls until it calmed into a glow. I did not cry. I made tea. I watched steam spin into air and disappear. When the kettle clicked, I heard the softest echo of glass on glass, a toast that never belonged to me. Useful. Tomorrow would come with sirens, but tonight there was just the clean edge of a choice. I woke up before sunrise. The world outside my window was the color of bruised steel, muted, suspended, waiting. There was something oddly peaceful about it. For the first time in months, my body wasn't buzzing with checklist anxiety, seating charts, vendor confirmations, his mother's gentle suggestions about napkin color. No, the list was done, erased. The phone on my nightstand was still blinking. 23 missed calls, 15 messages, Ethan's name again and again, stacked like fingerprints I didn't ask for. I didn't open them. I made coffee instead. Steam curled up from the mug. My reflection trembled in the surface, fragmented. I thought about the word illegal. It sounded like a siren, but this wasn't that. I hadn't stolen. I hadn't lied. I had simply corrected an error. The error of assuming he would protect me in public. The error of building a future with someone who believed usefulness was a personality trait. I opened my laptop. My inbox had turned into a battlefield overnight. Subject: urgent. Wilson Chen. Wedding cancellation confirmation. Subject: notice of non-refundable payment. Venue contract. Subject: final confirmation. Service terminated. All perfectly polite, all perfectly final. I clicked through each one almost tenderly. The florist's note even included a small apology. "We're sorry your event didn't work out. You were a joy to correspond with." I smiled. I really was. The numbers ran through my head like arithmetic with purpose. Venue, $12,000. Catering, $8,000. Band, $4,000. Florist, $3,000. Photography, $2,500. Plus the dinner, $3,000. Total, $32,500. Gone. I didn't flinch. It felt like paying a ransom to get my own sanity back. My phone buzzed again. This time I picked it up. Ethan. I waited until the 4th ring. Then I answered. "Marie, what the hell did you do?" His voice came through sharp, frantic, like glass grinding between gears. "Morning," I said. "You're up early?" "Don't do that. Don't. Just answer me. The venue called me. They said everything's been canceled. All of it. What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about freedom," I said softly. "You should try it sometime." He exhaled hard, disbelief twisting into anger. "This isn't funny. Do you understand what you've done? You've embarrassed both our families. People are flying in today. My mom, my boss. Everyone thinks. That I left you? Good. Saves me the trouble of explaining." "You're being insane!" His tone snapped upward. "You can't just cancel a wedding." "I just did." Silence. Then, "Marie, if this is about last night..." I almost laughed. If this is about last night. As if humiliation were a small inconvenience. "It's not just about last night," I said. "It's about every night you let Lauren talk about me like I was your assistant. Every time you called me practical like it was the opposite of beautiful. Every dinner where you let me fade behind your ambition." He scoffed. "You're overreacting." "No," I said quietly. "I'm remembering." I could hear him pacing, soft thuds on carpet, the creak of expensive wood. "Marie, listen to me. We can fix this. We'll call everyone back. We'll pay whatever fees." "There are no refunds," I interrupted. "Everything was non-refundable." He went silent. "What?" "You heard me." "Then whose card?" "Wait." His voice dropped. "You didn't..." "I did. You switched the cards. 2 months ago." "When?" he demanded. "When exactly did you..." "When you told me you were too busy to handle the boring parts. When you said I was good with logistics. When you handed me the entire wedding to manage because Lauren wanted to go golfing with you on contract day." That's fraud, Marie. No, I corrected calmly. That's trust. You gave me full authorization to handle vendor communications. You told every one of them I was the point of contact. My name, my email, my number, my card. The contracts reflect that. He inhaled sharply, panic finally bleeding through his anger. You can't get away with this. This is illegal. Prove it. The line went still except for his breathing. You won't, I continued, because it'll mean admitting you didn't read a single contract for your own wedding, that you let me handle everything while you took credit for the show. Marie, please, he said, and this time his voice cracked, softer. We can still fix this. We can move the date. Just undo this, please. I closed my eyes. His tone, the same one he used when he wanted something done, when he pretended it was teamwork. It's already done, I said, and you can stop pretending you care about fixing it. You just want to fix how it looks. Don't do this, he whispered. You did it first, I replied, then ended the call. By noon, Lauren had texted. You're insane. Do you know how much you humiliated him? You've ruined everything. I hope you're proud of yourself. I typed and deleted 3 responses before settling on one. I am. I blocked her after that. The day stretched long and strangely bright. I cleaned, packed a few of Ethan's things into neat boxes, cufflinks, ties, monogrammed shaving kit. His watch, he always said, was a family heirloom, though the engraving on the back read property of Ethan W. from a corporate award. I stacked the boxes by the front door. The sound of cardboard scraping tile was satisfying, a finality you could touch. While I worked, I thought about something my father once said when I helped him tear down a wall in our old house. You'll know you're doing it right when it looks like destruction. He was right. By evening, the house was spotless, too quiet. I poured a glass of wine and sat on the floor, back against the wall. The messages kept coming. Ethan, his mother, even Lauren from another number. I muted them all. I watched the light shift through the blinds, slicing the room into warm and cool. Was I proud? Maybe. Was I free? Definitely. I thought of Ethan's voice at the dinner table, his laughter tangled with Lauren's. The sound had scraped something raw inside me, but now it only echoed faintly, like a dream you stop remembering halfway through. The phone rang again. I didn't answer. Instead, I opened my laptop one last time, scrolled through the cancellation confirmations, and clicked Archive All. As each message disappeared, a strange relief settled over me. Not the adrenaline kind. This was quieter, cleaner. Maybe this was what liberation looked like. Not fireworks, not revenge headlines, just silence, and a sense that for once, every number finally balanced. When I turned off the light, the house felt different, lighter somehow, as if the air itself had stopped holding its breath. In the dark, I whispered it out loud just to hear it once more. It wasn't fraud. Pause. It was self-respect. And for the first time in 4 years, I slept without dreaming. The morning sunlight crawled across my living room floor like an unwelcome guest. It was almost beautiful, that pale gold spilling through the blinds, until my phone started vibrating again. Over and over. Ethan. I stared at his name on the screen. The word fiancé used to sit right next to it in my mind, like a title. Now it just looked like a typo. The phone buzzed again. I sighed and picked up. Marie, he said, voice tight, breath shallow. You need to listen to me. No, I don't. You don't understand how bad this looks, he said, his pitch rising with panic. The vendors are calling me. The guests are confused. My mother's in tears. You've humiliated all of us. I leaned back on the couch, staring at the ceiling. Your mother's crying because her bragging rights just got revoked. Don't start with her. She started it, I said evenly. Every time she looked at me like I was lucky you picked me, like I was something she could put back on the shelf if you changed your mind. He groaned. Marie, come on, you're not being reasonable. Reasonable. That word had followed me through our entire relationship like a leash. Whenever Ethan said it, what he meant was, stop making me uncomfortable. Reasonable, I repeated softly. You mean quiet. He went silent. I didn't want to fight, he finally said. I wanted a wedding. No, you wanted a trophy. Something pretty but practical. A partner who wouldn't argue when you and Lauren decided I should feel grateful. Lauren, he said, sharp and defensive, this isn't about her. It's always about her. I let that hang in the air, and for once, he didn't deny it. You know, I said after a pause, the way you two looked at each other last night, it reminded me of something. You told me once that you and Lauren dated for 2 weeks in college, right? He hesitated. That was a lifetime ago. Right, I said, my tone cool. Except lifetimes don't usually send each other midnight texts about how no one gets you like they do. Marie, don't bother denying it. She showed me, by the way. Thought it would help me understand your bond. I heard him inhale sharply, caught off guard. That wasn't flirting. That was comfort, I offered. You use me for comfort too, just in a different way. He sighed, exasperated now. You're blowing this up. She was joking. The toast, the whole thing. Everyone laughed. You're making it sound malicious. It was malicious, I said. You just didn't care, because the joke wasn't on you. His tone hardened. I can't believe you're ending everything over a toast. It's not the toast, I said quietly. It's the truth that came with it. He didn't speak, so I filled the silence. You didn't marry down, Ethan. You stayed down. You just disguised it with money. The line went quiet. Then a sound. His sharp exhale through his teeth. So what now? He asked bitterly. You ruin the wedding, make me the villain. Then what? Post about it? Make a story out of me? I don't need to, I said. You'll do that yourself. You're going to regret this, he snapped. I smiled. I already did, for 4 years. Click, I ended the call. By noon, my parents came by. My mom brought soup, as if heartbreak were a flu you could cure with ginger and broth. She didn't say I told you so. She didn't have to. She just touched my hair and said softly, You look lighter. I feel it, I admitted. Dad walked the house like an inspector, quiet but observant. When he reached the living room, he saw the boxes stacked by the door. He coming for those? Probably, I said, with backup. He nodded, understanding. We'll stay for a while. I wanted to protest, but I didn't. There's something grounding about having your parents sit in silence while you dismantle the wreckage of your own choices. At 3 p.m., the knock came, sharp, predictable. I opened the door. Ethan stood there, wearing the same pressed shirt he'd planned to wear to the ceremony. Behind him, Lauren, sunglasses, lips pressed into that smug little smile she wore like perfume. Well, she said, glancing at the boxes, at least you're tidy. Helps with the moving on, I said. Ethan stepped forward. Marie, please, let's just talk privately. There's nothing left to say. You canceled our wedding, he said, voice breaking with disbelief. You humiliated me. I interrupted, calm but firm. You humiliated yourself. I just turned on the lights. Lauren crossed her arms. You know, most people would kill for the life you just threw away. Do you even realize what you lost? I turned to her. A man who laughed when his best friend called me a utility? Yeah, I'll manage. Lauren's smile faltered. You're crazy. Probably, I said, tilting my head. But at least I'm free. Ethan reached for my hand. Desperate now. Marie, please, we can rebuild this. We can start over. I looked at him. Really looked. His perfect posture, his neatly combed hair, the panic flickering in his eyes. And for the first time, I didn't see the man I loved. I saw the man I tolerated. You said last night that I was useful, I said softly. You were right. I was useful, until I stopped being convenient. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. I stepped back and pointed to the boxes. They're all yours. Take them and go. Lauren glared at me, venom sharp. You'll regret this. He loved you. I smiled faintly. No, he managed me. They stared at me a beat longer, then turned. As they carried the boxes out, I noticed Lauren whisper something to him. Something meant to sting. It didn't. When the door finally closed, the silence that followed wasn't empty. It was peace, pure and clean. My mom appeared from the kitchen doorway, arms crossed, a ghost of a smile tugging at her mouth. That felt good, didn't it? I nodded. Better than I expected. That night, I sat on my porch with a glass of wine. My phone lit up once more, a text from an unknown number. You think you won, but you'll see what happens when people hear your side of the story doesn't make sense. Lauren. I stared at the message, then blocked the number. Let them talk. Let them twist it. People like Ethan and Lauren always relied on reputation. I relied on truth, and silence can be the loudest truth of all. As the sun sank and the cicadas began their nightly song, I whispered to myself, this isn't revenge. It wasn't. It was closure dressed in steel. Tomorrow, the world would know what happened. But for once, I didn't care. Because tomorrow wasn't supposed to be my wedding day anymore. It was the first day of my freedom. The next morning should have been our wedding day. Instead of waking to soft music and a team of stylists, I woke to sunlight sneaking through the blinds and the quiet hum of peace. No makeup artist, no frantic coordinator, no pretending. Just me, a mug of coffee, and the faint smell of cardboard from the boxes by the door. By 9, the messages had stopped. I guessed Ethan finally realized I meant it. Or maybe he was just too busy explaining himself to his family, the same people who used to tell me I should be grateful someone like him chose you. My parents came over again, but this time they didn't say a word. My mom helped me fold the sheets from the guest room where Ethan's suit had been hanging. Dad fixed the front porch light he'd been reminding Ethan about for months. Small things. Healing things. By 11, another knock. When I opened the door, I wasn't surprised to see Ethan, but the sight of who was with him, again, made me smile. Lauren, in a white blouse and oversized sunglasses, like she was the one walking down the aisle today. "Let us in," she said before I could speak. "We need to talk." "You can talk right there," I said, keeping the door half closed. Ethan stepped forward, voice low. "Marie, please, just 5 minutes." I looked at him, at the same navy suit he wore the night we got engaged, the one that made him look like the version of himself he wanted the world to see. Polished, composed, untouchable. But this morning, the fabric looked stiff, heavy. He'd lost the shine. "Fine," I said, 5 minutes. He walked in. Lauren followed, crossing her arms like she owned the air. Her perfume hit first, sharp, floral, and expensive. The scent of women who never think consequences apply to them. Ethan looked around, eyes landing on the boxes by the door. "You really did pack everything." "Efficient," I said. "You used to like that about me." He sighed. "Marie, this isn't the way to end things. We could have talked. You could have told me you were upset." "I did tell you," I cut in. "You just never listened unless it was convenient." Lauren rolled her eyes. "God, this is so dramatic. Do you realize how insane you look right now? You canceled a wedding because of a joke." "A joke?" I repeated. "Do you call a knife a joke after it cuts?" Lauren scoffed. "You're impossible." Ethan held up his hands, trying to mediate. "Enough. Lauren, please." He turned to me. "Look, I'm sorry. What she said was awful. And I should have stopped it. I know that. I was nervous, and it—" "Don't," I said softly. "Don't rewrite it now. You laughed. You made a choice." He swallowed hard. "Marie, I made a mistake. But we can fix this. We can reschedule. We can—" I shook my head. "No, Ethan, you can't reschedule respect." Lauren huffed. "Oh, please, don't pretend you're some saint. You think ruining him makes you noble?" I turned to her, calm. "No, it makes me done." She took a step closer. "You're pathetic." "Maybe," I said, "but at least I don't need to stand next to someone else's fiancé to feel important." For the first time, her smile faltered, a small, precise crack in her composure. Ethan looked between us, defeated. "You're both being childish." "Funny," I said. "That's what you call women when they stop forgiving you." He exhaled, long and tired. "Marie, please, I never meant to hurt you." "I know," I said. "You just didn't care if you did." For a long moment, none of us moved. The quiet filled the space, heavy and final. Then I reached for the boxes and nudged them toward the door. "These are yours," I said. "Take them and go." He didn't move. "Don't make this harder than it has to be," I added. "Marie!" "Take them." Lauren stepped in, grabbing one of the boxes with exaggerated effort. "This is ridiculous." "Careful," I said. "That one's labeled ego. It's fragile." Lauren froze. Ethan looked like he wanted to laugh but didn't dare. They carried the boxes out in silence. At the doorway, he turned once more. "Marie," he said, voice trembling just slightly. "You'll regret this." I smiled faintly. "Maybe, but not today." And I closed the door. The sound of the latch clicking was the softest, most satisfying sound I'd ever heard. Through the window, I watched them load the boxes into Lauren's car. She said something sharp. He didn't answer. He just stood there for a moment, staring at the house like he couldn't quite believe it had stopped belonging to him. Then they drove off. I leaned against the wall and let out a breath I'd been holding for 4 years. The house felt bigger, lighter, mine. That evening, I poured myself a drink and sat on the porch again. The neighborhood was quiet except for a few kids playing down the street. Somewhere, a sprinkler ticked rhythmically, steady, calm, unbothered. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I hope it was worth it, Ethan. I didn't reply. Instead, I took a photo of the box's empty spot by the door and captioned it in my notes app. Some spaces are meant to stay empty. That's how they breathe. The following week, my lawyer confirmed what I already suspected. Legally, I was fine. All contracts were in my name. Every charge had my signature. It was all perfectly legitimate, just emotionally catastrophic. I forwarded the confirmation email to Ethan's family when they threatened to take legal action. No response after that. 2 weeks later, the stories started circulating. Lauren had been bragging about her killer toast at a work event, apparently. Someone recorded part of it. It spread. People online didn't find it funny. Mean girl energy, they called it. She deleted her social media a few days later. Her company issued a vague statement about inappropriate conduct at corporate functions. Ethan, meanwhile, was quietly moved to a different branch for reputation reasons. The universe has a way of balancing its books, I guess. That night, I went to the backyard and turned on the porch light my dad fixed. The glow spilled over the grass, warm and golden. For the first time in months, I felt steady. Sometimes peace doesn't arrive like forgiveness. It arrives like a locked door behind you, and the sound of your own heartbeat on the other side, reminding you you're still here. 3 months have passed since the day I canceled my wedding. 3 months since I watched Ethan and Lauren drive away with boxes full of what they thought I couldn't live without. Turns out I haven't missed a single thing. People still whisper. That's what people do when a story is too strange not to repeat. Did you hear about the woman who canceled her own wedding the night before? She lost $32,000 just to make a point. They always focus on the money. They never mention the cost of staying. The first few weeks were quiet. Too quiet. I woke up some mornings expecting a fight, an apology, something to fill the space where Ethan used to exist. But silence, I learned, can be its own kind of healing. Work picked up. My small contracting business had been limping along for months while I juggled wedding chaos, but once the weight lifted, I started getting calls again. Repeat clients, new referrals. My hands were busy, my mind steadier. Building things is easier than rebuilding yourself, but it's a start. One morning, while sanding down a door frame, I caught myself humming. It startled me how ordinary joy felt after months of emotional static. Then came the irony. People started reaching out, not to judge me, but to thank me. An old friend from college messaged, "I saw that clip of Lauren's toast. You did the right thing." A client told me his daughter had called off her engagement after watching the same video go viral. I didn't post it. Someone else did. The recording from that rehearsal dinner. Lauren's cruel smile, Ethan's laugh, my frozen face, it all ended up online somehow. The internet did what the internet does. Turned humiliation into empathy and gossip into justice. I never commented, didn't need to. The video spoke for itself. Lauren disappeared from social media completely. Her name trended for 2 days, then faded like bad perfume. Ethan kept his job, but lost the glow that once followed him. Mutual friends told me he looked different now. Quieter. Smaller. I didn't celebrate their downfall. It wasn't triumph. It was balance. Last week, I saw Ethan for the first time since that day. I was at a cafe downtown, flipping through design sketches. He walked in, looking like someone still practicing confidence in the mirror. He froze when he saw me. We just stood there, two people who once planned a lifetime and now couldn't even share a greeting. He gave a faint, unsure smile, the kind people use when they want to say I'm sorry but don't know how. I nodded once, not angry, not bitter, just done. Then I walked past him. I didn't look back. At night, sometimes I still think about that toast, about the laughter, the clinking glasses, and how quiet the world went afterward. I used to replay that moment with pain. Now I replay it with clarity. Every relationship has a breaking point, a single second where everything you've been ignoring finally speaks up. That was mine. And when I finally listened, really listened, it told me something simple: leave. Last weekend, I had dinner with someone new. His name is Daniel, a friend of a friend. He doesn't talk about money or status. He listens. He asks questions that make me think, not defend. When I told him I build things for a living, he said, "Then you already know how to make anything stronger than before." It's not love yet, but it's peace. And peace, I've learned, is rarer. Sometimes I sit by the window at night, the same window I once stared through while Ethan's name lit up my phone. The house feels alive again, quieter, warmer, real. I lost $32,000. I gained myself. And that's not a loss. That's a transaction. They say revenge is sweet. It isn't. It's silent. It's the calm that follows when you stop begging someone to see your worth. The truth, I never canceled a wedding. I just stopped attending my own illusion. As I finish this chapter of my life, I keep a single photo from that night tucked in a drawer. Me at the rehearsal dinner, smiling under 2 bright lights. Every time I look at it, I remember the woman I was and the one who walked away. Same face, different freedom. I whisper the same line each time, like a prayer to no one in particular. For 4 years, I built a home out of his promises. But peace I had to buy myself. And it was worth every penny.